Chapter 1. A sunny day at the pool. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a golden glow over the bustling public pool, where laughter and splashes harmonized in a symphony of summer joy. Just a few days ago, in the dim light of a cramped coffee shop, Brad had found himself caught in a whirlwind of emotions, grappling with the aftermath of a confession that had left him reeling. His best friend, Liv, had revealed her feelings for him, and while he had tried to respond with the same honesty, the words had tangled in his throat, leaving a knot of uncertainty in their friendship. Now, as he stepped into the vibrant chaos of the pool, the warmth of the sun felt like a balm against the confusion swirling in his mind. "Hey, Brad, over here," Mary-Kate's voice sliced through the cacophony, pulling him from his thoughts. She waved enthusiastically, her sun-kissed skin glistening with droplets of water, a bright yellow bikini accentuating her playful spirit. He grinned, the sight of his friends instantly lifting his mood. "Looks like you guys have already claimed the best spot," he called back, making his way through the throng of sunbathers and children splashing in the shallow end. The smell of sunscreen mingled with the faint scent of chlorine, a quintessential summer aroma that stirred memories of carefree days. "Of course. We wouldn't let you miss out on the fun," Paige chimed in, her laughter ringing like a bell as she adjusted her oversized sunglasses. She was sprawled on a beach towel, her long hair cascading over her shoulders like a golden waterfall. "Come on, Brad, jump in," Ashley shouted, her voice bubbling with excitement. She was perched on the edge of the pool, her feet dangling in the water, sending ripples across the surface. Brad hesitated for a moment, his gaze drifting to the girls lounging around the pool. They were all effortlessly beautiful, their laughter mingling with the sound of splashing water. He felt a twinge of self-consciousness, a fleeting thought that maybe he didn't belong in this sun-soaked paradise. But then he shook it off, reminding himself that today was about fun, not worries. All right, I'm coming," he called back, a grin breaking across his face as he sprinted toward the pool's edge. With a quick glance at his friends, he leapt into the water, the coolness enveloping him like a refreshing embrace. As he surfaced, shaking the water from his hair, he caught sight of Liv lounging on a nearby chair, her eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. She looked relaxed, but he could sense an undercurrent of tension in her posture. He had been avoiding her gaze since their last conversation, unsure of how to navigate the new territory of their friendship. "Nice dive," Caitlin shouted, her voice playful as she splashed water in his direction. "You should join the Olympics. Only if you're my coach," he shot back, laughter bubbling up as he swam closer to the edge where his friends were gathered. "Deal," Caitlin laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. As the afternoon wore on, the sun climbed higher, and the pool became a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. Children squealed with delight as they raced each other, while groups of teenagers lounged on floats, their conversations punctuated by bursts of laughter. The air was thick with the scent of grilled burgers wafting from a nearby food stand, mingling with the sweet aroma of cotton candy. Brad found himself drifting between the pool and his friends, engaging in playful banter and soaking up the sun. But every so often, his gaze would wander back to Liv, who remained on her chair, seemingly lost in thought. He could feel the weight of their unspoken words hanging in the air, a tension that simmered just beneath the surface. "Hey, Brad, come help me with this," Paige called, her voice breaking through his reverie. She was struggling to inflate a large flamingo float, her cheeks puffed out as she blew into the valve. "Sure thing," he replied, swimming over to her. As he took the float from her, their fingers brushed, and he felt a spark of something. Was it attraction? Or just the thrill of summer? He couldn't tell. "Thanks. I swear, I'm going to drown in this thing if I don't get it inflated soon," she laughed, her eyes bright with mischief. "Don't worry, I've got this," he said, focusing on the task at hand. As he worked, he could feel the warmth of the sun on his back, the sound of splashing water surrounding him, and for a moment, everything felt right. But then, a sudden splash drew his attention, and he turned to see Liv standing at the edge of the pool, her expression unreadable. She had removed her sunglasses, and the sunlight caught the glimmer of uncertainty in her eyes. "Brad," she called, her voice cutting through the laughter and chatter. "Can we talk?" His heart raced, a mix of anticipation and dread. Sure. Just give me a second," he replied, trying to keep his tone casual as he finished inflating the float. "Everything okay?" Paige asked, noticing the shift in his demeanor. "Yeah, just a quick chat," he said, forcing a smile as he set the flamingo aside and swam to the edge of the pool. Liv was waiting for him, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, a defensive posture that made his stomach twist. "Can we go somewhere a little quieter?" she asked, glancing around as if searching for eavesdroppers. "Yeah, let's head over there," he replied, nodding toward a shaded area near the pool's edge, where a few lounge chairs sat empty. As they walked, the sounds of the pool faded into the background, replaced by the rhythmic lapping of water against the pool's edge. The shade felt cool against his skin, but the air between them crackled with tension. "Liv," he started, but she cut him off, her voice barely above a whisper. "Brad, I need to know what you're thinking. About what I said the other day." He swallowed hard, the knot in his stomach tightening. "I've been thinking about it a lot," he admitted, his voice low. I didn't want to ruin our friendship. Ruin it. Or change it." She pressed, her eyes searching his. "Because I don't want to lose you, but I can't pretend that I don't feel this way anymore." Brad's heart raced, the weight of her words settling heavily on his shoulders. "I care about you, Liv. You know that. But I'm scared. Scared of what this means for us." "Scared of what?" she challenged, her voice rising slightly. "Of being happy. Of taking a chance." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "It's not that simple." Chapter 2. The girls' bond. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a golden glow over the public pool, where laughter and splashes mingled in a symphony of summer joy. In the previous chapter, Brad had arrived with his friends. Mary-Kate, Paige, Ashley, Liv, and Caitlin, eager for a day of fun. While the group settled into their sun-soaked oasis, Brad's attention drifted, captivated by the stunning girls in swimsuits that surrounded him, blissfully unaware of the intricate dynamics at play among his friends. As the sun climbed higher, the girls lounged on their towels, the scent of coconut sunscreen mingling with the chlorine of the pool. Mary-Kate, with her sun-kissed blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, leaned back on her towel, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Okay, who's ready for some volleyball?" she called out, her voice cutting through the chatter. "Me. I'm in." Paige, the most competitive of the group, shot up from her spot, her dark curls bouncing with enthusiasm. "I've been practicing my serves." "You're all going down." Ashley, ever the peacemaker, chuckled as she adjusted her oversized sunglasses. "Let's not get too intense, Paige. It's just for fun, remember." Liv, with her vibrant red swimsuit and freckles dancing across her nose, rolled her eyes playfully. "Fun. That's just code for, I'm going to crush you all." Caitlin, the quietest of the bunch, smiled softly, her brown hair framing her face as she joined the others. "I just want to enjoy the game. But if we're going to play, we need a referee." "Brad, you're up." Brad, still lost in his own world, blinked as the girls turned their attention to him. "Me. Referee." He glanced around, his gaze lingering on a group of girls at the far end of the pool, their laughter ringing like music. Sure, I guess." "Perfect." Mary-Kate grinned, her excitement infectious. "You can keep score while we show off our skills." As the girls gathered at the edge of the pool, Brad's heart raced, not from the prospect of being a referee, but from the sheer energy radiating from the group. He watched as they huddled together, their laughter echoing off the water, a bond forged through years of shared secrets and playful banter. "All right, teams," Brad called out, trying to sound authoritative. Mary-Kate and Paige on one side, Ashley, Liv, and Caitlin on the other. "Let's see what you've got." The game began with a flurry of movement, the ball soaring through the air as the girls dove and leapt, their bodies glistening under the sun. Brad found himself mesmerized, not just by their athleticism but by the camaraderie that pulsed between them. They teased each other mercilessly, their voices rising above the splashes, creating a tapestry of friendship that felt both warm and electric. "Nice save, Paige," Ashley shouted, her voice laced with genuine admiration as Paige executed a perfect dive to keep the ball in play. "Thanks. But watch out," Paige shot back, sending the ball soaring over the net with a fierce serve that caught the opposing team off guard. Caitlin, who had been quiet until now, surprised everyone with a swift jump, her hand connecting with the ball just in time. "Got it!" she exclaimed, her face lighting up with joy. Brad couldn't help but smile at their enthusiasm. He felt like an outsider looking in, a spectator to a world that was vibrant and alive. As the game continued, he noticed the subtle glances exchanged between the girls, the way they rallied around each other, lifting spirits with every point scored. It was a language of friendship he longed to understand. "Hey, Brad," Mary-Kate called out, her voice breaking through his reverie. "What do you think? Are we winning?" Yeah, definitely," he replied, trying to sound more engaged than he felt. "You guys are amazing." "Of course we are," Paige chimed in, her competitive spirit shining through. "But don't get too comfortable, Brad. We're just getting started." As the game progressed, the tension in the air shifted. The playful banter began to carry an undercurrent of something deeper. An unspoken competition not just for points, but for attention. Brad could sense it, the way the girls occasionally glanced his way, gauging his reactions, seeking validation in their playful rivalry. "Okay, last point," Mary-Kate declared, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Let's make it count." The girls rallied, their voices rising in a chorus of encouragement. Brad felt the weight of their expectations, the pressure to be more than just a referee. He wanted to cheer them on, to be part of their world, but he also felt the distance of being an outsider. The final serve was fierce, the ball soaring high above the net. Liv leapt, her body arching gracefully as she connected with the ball, sending it flying toward Mary-Kate and Paige. The moment hung in the air, a heartbeat suspended in time, before the ball hit the water with a resounding splash. "Point for Ashley's team," Brad shouted, his voice barely rising above the girls' excited squeals. They erupted into laughter, the tension dissipating as they splashed each other playfully, their competitive spirits giving way to joy. Okay, we'll let you win this time," Mary-Kate teased, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "But only because we like you, Brad." "Right," he replied, a smile tugging at his lips. "I'll take it." As the girls began to gather their things, the sun began its slow descent, casting a warm glow over the pool. The air was thick with the scent of sunscreen and the sound of distant laughter. Brad felt a pang of longing, a desire to be closer to them, to share in their laughter and secrets. "Hey, Brad," Ashley said, her voice softening as she approached him. "You should join us more often. We have a lot of fun together." "Yeah, I'd like that," he replied, his heart racing at the prospect. "I mean, if you guys don't mind me tagging along." "Of course we don't," Liv chimed in, her enthusiasm infectious. "You're one of us now." As the girls began to pack up their towels and gear, Brad felt a sense of belonging wash over him. He had always admired their bond from a distance, but now, standing among them, he felt a flicker of hope that he could be part of their world. "Let's grab some ice cream before we head home," Caitlin suggested, her eyes brightening at the thought. "Great idea," Mary-Kate agreed, her excitement palpable. "I'm craving something sweet." As they made their way to the ice cream stand, Brad walked alongside Ashley, their shoulders brushing occasionally. He could feel the warmth radiating from her. Chapter 3 A daring rescue. As the game of volleyball intensified, the girls showcased their skills, diving and leaping with a competitive spirit that drew the attention of onlookers. Mary-Kate's infectious laughter rang out as she spiked the ball over the net, while Caitlin's playful banter kept the mood light. But beneath the surface of their camaraderie, subtle tensions simmered, particularly in Ashley, who felt the spotlight slipping from her grasp. Just as the game reached its peak, a sudden commotion erupted from the deep end of the pool. A piercing scream cut through the laughter, and Brad's heart raced as he turned to see a young boy flailing helplessly in the water, his small arms thrashing against the surface. Panic surged through the crowd, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. "Paige," Mary-Kate shouted, her voice laced with urgency. "He's drowning." Without a second thought, Paige sprang into action. Her athletic frame sliced through the water as she dove in, her movements fluid and determined. The cheers of the crowd faded into a dull roar as Brad's focus narrowed on the scene unfolding before him. He could see the boy's terrified face, his eyes wide with fear, and the realization hit him like a cold wave. This was no longer just a game. "Come on, Paige," Brad whispered under his breath, his heart pounding in rhythm with the frantic splashes. Paige reached the boy just as he began to sink beneath the surface. With a swift motion, she wrapped her arms around him, pulling him close. The boy's wide eyes met hers, and in that moment, a flicker of hope ignited. She kicked hard, propelling them both toward the edge of the pool, her strength evident even in the chaos. The crowd erupted into cheers as Paige emerged from the water, gasping for breath but holding the boy securely in her arms. She dragged him to the side, where a lifeguard rushed to assist. Brad felt a swell of admiration for her bravery, a warmth spreading through him that was more than just the sun on his skin. "Is he okay?" Brad called out, his voice strained with concern as he stepped closer, the water still dripping from Paige's hair, glistening like diamonds in the sunlight. "He's breathing," the lifeguard shouted back, relief evident in his tone. "Just a little shaken up." Paige, still holding the boy, looked up at the crowd, her expression a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The cheers grew louder, and Brad could see the admiration in the eyes of everyone around them. But as the boy's mother rushed forward, tears streaming down her face, Brad noticed a flicker of something darker in Ashley's eyes. "Great job, Paige," Mary-Kate said, wrapping her arms around her friend in a tight embrace. "You were amazing." "Yeah, you really saved him," Liv added, her voice filled with awe. But Ashley stood a few steps back, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, a frown etched on her face. The spotlight had shifted, and she felt it slipping away. "Well, it is not like it was a big deal," she muttered, her tone dismissive. "Anyone could have done that." Brad turned to her, surprised by her reaction. "Ashley, she just saved a kid's life. That's a huge deal." "Sure, but it doesn't mean she has to act like a hero," Ashley shot back, her voice rising slightly. "It's not like she's the only one who could have jumped in." "Maybe not, but she did," Brad replied, frustration creeping into his voice. "You should be proud of her." Ashley's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, the tension hung thick in the air. "Whatever," she said, turning away, her expression a mix of jealousy and hurt. Brad sighed, watching her retreating figure. He had always admired Ashley's confidence, but lately, it felt like a mask for something deeper. He turned back to the scene, where the boy was now safely in his mother's arms, her gratitude palpable as she hugged him tightly. Thank you, she cried, her voice trembling. You're a hero. Paige blushed under the praise, her cheeks turning a rosy hue. I just did what anyone would do, she said, her modesty shining through even in the face of admiration. Not everyone would have jumped in like that, Brad said, stepping closer to her. You were incredible. Paige met his gaze, and for a moment, the noise of the pool faded away. There was a spark between them, a connection that felt electric. But just as quickly, it was interrupted by the sound of Ashley's voice, sharp and cutting through the moment. Yeah, well, I guess some people just need the attention, Ashley said, her tone dripping with sarcasm as she rejoined the group, arms still crossed defensively. Brad felt a pang of irritation at her words. Ashley, this isn't about attention. It's about saving a life. Right, because that's all that matters, she replied, rolling her eyes. Let's just forget about the fact that we were all having fun before this little drama unfolded. Fun, Brad echoed, incredulous. A kid almost drowned, and you're worried about fun. Ashley's expression hardened, and the tension between them crackled like static electricity. You don't get it, do you? You're all so caught up in your little hero worship that you can't see how ridiculous this is. Ridiculous. Brad shot back, his voice rising. You're acting like this is just a game. It's not. People's lives are at stake. Maybe you should take a step back and realize that not everyone wants to be a hero, Ashley snapped, her eyes flashing with anger. Maybe you should realize that being a hero isn't about wanting it. It is about doing what's right, Brad countered, his heart racing with frustration. The air between them thickened, and for a moment, it felt like the entire world had faded away, leaving just the two of them locked in a battle of wills. But before either could say another word, Paige stepped in, her voice calm yet firm. Guys, can we just take a breath? She said, her eyes darting between them. This isn't the time or place for this. Brad took a step back. Chapter 4. Jealousy brews now. As the sun continued its ascent, Ashley sat on the edge of her lounge chair, her fingers nervously twisting the hem of her swimsuit. She watched Paige, who was still basking in the afterglow of her heroic act, surrounded by a small group of admirers. The way they looked at her, with wide eyes and open mouths, made Ashley's stomach churn. It was as if the spotlight had shifted, and she was left standing in the shadows, invisible. Hey, Ash, you okay? Liv's voice cut through Ashley's spiraling thoughts. She looked up to see her friend perched on the edge of her own chair, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Yeah, just enjoying the view, Ashley replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. She gestured vaguely toward the pool, where Brad was laughing with a couple of girls, his carefree demeanor only amplifying her insecurities. Liv followed her gaze, her brow furrowing slightly. You know he's just being Brad, right? He doesn't even notice half the time. Right, Ashley said, her voice laced with sarcasm. But it is not like I can compete with a hero. Liv's expression softened. You're not trying to compete. You're amazing in your own way. Just because Paige did something brave doesn't mean you're any less you. Ashley sighed, the weight of Liv's words hanging in the air. I know, but it is hard not to feel overshadowed. I mean, look at her. Everyone's talking about her, and I'm just here. Maybe you need to show them what you can do, Liv suggested, a playful smile creeping onto her lips. How about a little prank? Something to lighten the mood and give you a chance to shine. Ashley raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite herself. What do you have in mind? Liv leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. What if I pretend to drown? You could jump in and save me. Instant hero status. Ashley's heart raced at the thought. It was reckless, but the idea of reclaiming the spotlight was intoxicating. You really think that would work? Absolutely. Just trust me. I'll make it look convincing. Liv's eyes sparkled with mischief, and, for the first time that day, Ashley felt a flicker of excitement. Okay, let's do it, Ashley said, her voice steadying with determination. But you better not actually drown. Liv laughed, the sound bright and infectious. I promise, I'll just be dramatic. As Liv prepared for her performance, Ashley's heart raced with anticipation. She watched as Liv waded into the shallow end, her movements exaggerated as she splashed around, drawing the attention of the nearby sunbathers. Brad, still oblivious to the brewing tension, was busy chatting with a group of girls, his laughter ringing out like music. Hey, everyone, Liv called out, her voice tinged with faux panic. Help, I can't swim. Ashley's breath caught in her throat as she watched the scene unfold. The laughter around the pool began to fade, replaced by shouts of concern. Liv flailed her arms, her face contorting into a mask of fear, and Ashley felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it. Her moment to shine. Brad! She shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. I need your help. He turned, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm as he spotted Liv. What's happening? He called, rushing toward the pool's edge. Liv's in trouble. She can't swim. Ashley yelled, her heart pounding as she leapt into the water, the coolness enveloping her like a second skin. She swam toward Liv, who was now fully committed to her act, her eyes wide and pleading. Hold on, Liv, Ashley shouted, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around her. She reached out, grabbing Liv's arm and pulling her toward the surface. I've got you. As they broke through the water, Liv gasped dramatically, her eyes darting around as if searching for salvation. Thank you, Ashley. I thought I was going to drown. The crowd erupted into applause, and Ashley felt a rush of exhilaration. She had done it. She had saved Liv, and in the process, she had reclaimed a piece of the spotlight. But as she turned to look for Brad, she caught sight of Paige, standing at the edge of the pool, her expression a mix of disbelief and something darker. Nice job, Ashley, Paige said, her voice tight. Real heroic. Ashley's heart sank as she registered the jealousy in Paige's tone. I just wanted to lighten the mood, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Right, Paige said, crossing her arms. Because pretending to drown is a great way to do that. The tension hung thick in the air, and Ashley felt her earlier triumph slip away. It was just a joke, Paige. I thought it would be funny. Funny for you, maybe, Paige shot back, her eyes narrowing. You didn't think about how it would make me look, did you? Ashley opened her mouth to respond, but the words caught in her throat. She had wanted to shine, to be seen, but at what cost? The weight of her actions pressed down on her, and she felt the heat of embarrassment creeping up her neck. Guys, come on, Liv interjected, her voice light but firm. It was just a prank. No harm done, right? But the damage was already done. The air crackled with unspoken words, and Ashley could feel the divide growing between her and Paige. She had wanted to be a hero, but now she felt like a villain in her own story. Brad, still standing at the edge of the pool, looked between the two girls, confusion etched on his face. What's going on? Nothing, Paige snapped, her gaze flicking away from Ashley. Just a little misunderstanding. Ashley's heart sank further as she watched Brad's attention shift back to the other girls, their laughter ringing out like a cruel reminder of her failure. She had wanted to impress him, to show him she was more than just another face in the crowd, but now she felt smaller than ever. Chapter 5 The heroic act now. As the girls gathered at the edge of the pool, the tension was palpable. Brad, blissfully unaware of the emotional storm brewing among his friends, leaned back on his towel, his gaze drifting over the sun-kissed bodies around him. The laughter of the girls was a sweet melody, but it was the sight of the other swimmers that truly captivated him. "Hey, Brad, you're missing the action," Mary-Kate called, her voice teasing yet light, pulling him from his reverie. "Yeah, come on, join us," Caitlin added, splashing water in his direction, her laughter ringing like chimes in the warm breeze. Brad chuckled, wiping droplets from his face. "I'm just enjoying the view, ladies. No need to rush." "Typical," Paige smirked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You'd rather watch than play." "Hey, I'm a spectator at heart," he replied, raising his hands in mock surrender. But as the girls resumed their playful banter, Ashley's mind was racing. She watched Paige bask in the glory of her heroic act, and the gnawing feeling of inadequacy twisted in her stomach. She had always been the one to shine in their group, the one who drew attention effortlessly. But now, she felt like a shadow, lurking behind the brilliance of her friend. "Liv, you should totally pretend to drown again," Ashley suggested, her voice low and conspiratorial. "I mean, it worked so well last time. I could save you, and everyone would cheer for me." Liv raised an eyebrow, her lips curling into a smirk. "You mean, you want me to fake drowning so you can feel like a hero? That's a bit desperate, don't you think?" "Desperate times call for desperate measures," Ashley shot back, her tone sharper than intended. "I just want to show everyone that I can be brave too." "Brave or reckless," Liv countered, crossing her arms. "You know, you could just be yourself instead of trying to outdo Paige." Ashley's heart raced, a mix of frustration and determination igniting within her. "I can't just sit back and watch her steal the spotlight. I need to do something." Before Liv could respond, Ashley took a deep breath and made her decision. "All right, I'm going in." With that, she sprinted toward the pool, her heart pounding in her chest. The crowd's attention shifted as she dove into the water, creating a splash that sent ripples across the surface. "Look, Ashley's going in," someone shouted, and cheers erupted from the onlookers. Underwater, Ashley's mind raced. She could feel the cool water enveloping her, and for a moment, she was weightless, free from the weight of her insecurities. But as she surfaced, she spotted Liv watching from the edge, her expression a mix of amusement and concern. "Help, I can't swim," Ashley called out, her voice laced with feigned panic. She flailed her arms, creating a scene that she hoped would draw the crowd's attention. But just as she expected, Liv's laughter broke through the tension. "Ashley, you're not even trying. You look ridiculous." The crowd, initially caught up in the drama, began to murmur, confusion replacing excitement. "Is she serious?" someone asked, squinting to get a better look. "Yeah, I think she's just messing around," another voice chimed in, laughter bubbling beneath the surface. Ashley's heart sank. This wasn't going as planned. She needed to up the ante. "I'm really drowning," she shouted, her voice cracking slightly, but the laughter continued. Suddenly, a figure broke through the crowd. It was Brad, his brow furrowed with concern. "What's going on? Is she okay?" The moment he dove into the pool, Ashley's heart raced anew. Not from fear, but from a strange thrill. She had his attention. "Brad, help!" she called, her voice dripping with faux desperation. He swam toward her, his strokes powerful and confident. "Hold on, Ashley, I'm coming." As he reached her, Ashley felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it. The moment she had been waiting for. But just as he grasped her arm, Liv surfaced, shaking her head and laughing. "Ashley, you're not drowning. You're just being dramatic." The crowd erupted into laughter, and Ashley's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She had wanted to be the hero, but instead, she felt like a fool. "Seriously," Brad said, his expression shifting from concern to disbelief. "You were just pretending." Ashley's heart sank as she realized the truth. I thought it would be funny, she stammered, her bravado crumbling. Funny. You scared me, Brad exclaimed, his voice a mix of frustration and relief. You could have just asked for attention instead of pretending to drown. I just wanted to show everyone I could be brave too, Ashley confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Brad's expression softened, and he swam closer, his eyes searching hers. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, Ashley. You're already brave just by being yourself. The sincerity in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. For a moment, the world around them faded, and it was just the two of them in the water, the laughter of the crowd a distant echo. But before she could respond, Liv chimed in, her tone light but pointed. Well, at least you got Brad's attention, right? Mission accomplished. Ashley shot her a glare, but deep down, she knew Liv was right. The attention she craved had come at a cost, and now, the laughter felt like a weight on her chest. Maybe I should just stick to being me, she said, her voice laced with uncertainty. Exactly, Brad replied, his gaze steady. You're more than enough as you are. Just then, the crowd erupted into cheers again, but this time, it was for Paige, who had just executed a perfect dive into the pool. The applause echoed around them, and Ashley felt the familiar pang of jealousy rise once more. See, that's what a real hero looks like, she muttered, her eyes narrowing at Paige. Don't compare yourself to her, Brad said softly, his voice cutting through her thoughts. Chapter 6 A mysterious dive. As the group settled on the pool's edge, the sun warmed their skin, and the water shimmered invitingly. Brad leaned back, his arms stretched out behind him, a carefree grin plastered across his face. All right, everyone, how about a dive into the deep end? Let's make it a challenge. His voice rang out, filled with enthusiasm, and the others exchanged glances, a mix of excitement and apprehension flickering in their eyes. Are you sure about that? Caitlin asked, her brow furrowing slightly. What if we get pulled under again? That current was weird. Come on, it'll be fun. Brad insisted, his carefree attitude infectious. We'll all dive in together. What's the worst that could happen? Famous last words, Liv muttered under her breath, but she couldn't hide her smile. The prospect of a challenge was too tempting to resist. Let's do it, Paige exclaimed, her competitive spirit ignited once more. I'm in. Ashley hesitated, her heart racing at the thought of diving into the deep end again. The memory of her earlier leap, driven by jealousy and a desire to prove herself, lingered in her mind. But as she looked at the others, their excitement palpable, she felt a flicker of determination. Maybe this was her chance to shine, to reclaim her moment. Okay, I'm in too, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. On 3, Brad called, his eyes sparkling with mischief. 1, 2, 3. With a collective shout, they leapt into the air, their bodies slicing through the sunlight as they dove into the water. The world above faded away, replaced by a cool embrace that enveloped them. But as they plunged deeper, something shifted. A strange current surged around them, pulling them down with an unexpected force. Panic surged through Brad as he kicked his legs, trying to swim back up, but the current was relentless. Guys! He shouted, his voice muffled by the water. He glanced around, his heart pounding as he saw the others struggling against the current. Swim towards the light, Paige yelled, her voice barely audible. But the light above seemed to dim, and the water around them transformed. The familiar blue of the pool morphed into a kaleidoscope of colors, swirling and shifting like a living painting. Fish with iridescent scales darted past them, their movements graceful and fluid. Coral formations bloomed in vibrant hues, and the water felt alive, pulsating with energy. What is happening? Ashley gasped, her eyes wide with disbelief. I don't know, Brad shouted back, his voice tinged with both fear and awe. Just keep swimming. They fought against the current, their bodies propelled by adrenaline and instinct. As they swam deeper into this strange underwater world, the panic began to fade, replaced by a sense of wonder. The colors around them were mesmerizing, and the vibrant life teeming in the depths captivated their senses. Look at that. Liv pointed to a school of fish that shimmered like jewels, swirling around them in a dazzling display. Is this real? Caitlin breathed, her eyes wide as she reached out to touch a nearby coral formation. It felt warm and alive beneath her fingertips, pulsing gently as if it had a heartbeat. I don't know, but it is incredible, Paige exclaimed, her fear forgotten as she marveled at the beauty surrounding them. Brad, too, felt the thrill of adventure coursing through him. We have to explore, he declared, his voice filled with excitement. This is amazing. But as they swam further, the current began to shift again, pulling them toward a darkened cave nestled within a coral reef. The entrance loomed ahead, a gaping mouth that beckoned them closer. Should we go in? Ashley asked, her voice trembling slightly. We have to see what's inside, Brad urged, his adventurous spirit igniting once more. Are you crazy? Caitlin protested, her eyes darting nervously between the cave and the swirling colors around them. What if it is dangerous? Or what if it is something incredible? Paige countered, her curiosity piqued. After a moment of hesitation, the group exchanged determined glances. They had come this far. They couldn't turn back now. All right, let's do it, Brad said, leading the way as they swam toward the cave's entrance. As they entered, the light from outside faded, replaced by an ethereal glow that illuminated the cavern walls. Strange markings adorned the stone, swirling patterns that seemed to pulse with energy. The air felt charged, electric, as if they had crossed into another realm entirely. Wow, Liv whispered, her voice echoing softly in the stillness. This is unreal. Suddenly, a low rumble reverberated through the cave, causing the water to tremble around them. The group exchanged worried glances, their earlier excitement replaced by a sense of foreboding. Maybe we should go back, Ashley suggested, her heart racing. But before they could turn, a figure emerged from the shadows, gliding effortlessly through the water. It was a woman, her long hair flowing like seaweed around her, her eyes shimmering like the ocean itself. She looked at them with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Who are you? Brad asked, his voice steady despite the uncertainty swirling within him. I am Serafina, she replied, her voice melodic and soothing. Guardians of the depths have watched you. You have entered a realm not meant for the surface dwellers. The group exchanged bewildered glances, their minds racing to comprehend the reality of the situation. What do you mean? Paige asked, her voice barely above a whisper. This world is a sanctuary, Serafina explained, her gaze piercing yet kind. But it is also a place of balance. You must prove yourselves worthy to remain here. What do we have to do? Brad asked, his adventurous spirit ignited once more. Face your fears, Serafina said, her voice echoing through the cavern. Only then can you understand the depths of this world in your own hearts. As her words hung in the water, the group felt a shift within themselves. Chapter 7. The underwater adventure. The sun had been a blazing sentinel in the sky, casting its golden rays over the public pool where laughter and splashes mingled in a symphony of summer joy. Brad, with his easygoing charm, had arrived with his friends. Mary-Kate, Paige, Ashley, Liv, and Caitlin, ready for a day of fun. The girls, with their close-knit camaraderie, had engaged in playful banter while showcasing their skills in a spirited game of pool volleyball. But the day had taken an unexpected turn when a young boy struggled in the deep end, prompting Paige to leap in and save him, earning her the admiration of onlookers. Ashley, feeling overshadowed by Paige's heroism, had plotted to reclaim the spotlight, only to find herself caught in a prank orchestrated by Liv. As they all dove into the deep end together, a strange current had pulled them under, leading them into an unfamiliar underwater world. As the last bubbles of air escaped their lips, Brad and his friends found themselves enveloped in a shimmering blue expanse. The water was a vibrant canvas, alive with colors that danced and swirled around them. Schools of fish darted by, their scales glinting like jewels in the sunlight filtering through the surface above. Brad blinked, momentarily disoriented, but the thrill of adventure surged through him, pushing aside any lingering confusion. "Is this real?" Caitlin's voice echoed in the water, her eyes wide with wonder. She reached out, her fingers brushing against a passing fish that flicked its tail in surprise. "Looks like we're in some kind of underwater paradise," Liv exclaimed, her laughter bubbling up like the air escaping from her mouth. She swam ahead, her movements graceful and fluid, as if she were born to glide through the water. "Guys, look over there." Paige pointed toward a cluster of coral that glowed with an ethereal light. The coral seemed to pulse with life, inviting them closer. "Let's check it out." Brad followed the girls, his heart racing with excitement. The vibrant colors of the underwater realm were mesmerizing, but a part of him remained distracted by the beauty surrounding him. Both the enchanting sea life and the girls, their laughter echoing like music in his ears. He caught a glimpse of Ashley, her hair floating around her like a halo, and felt a pang of admiration mixed with something deeper. "Wait up," Ashley called, her voice a mix of exhilaration and urgency. She kicked her legs harder, propelling herself toward the coral. "This is incredible." As they approached the coral, a sudden movement caught Brad's eye. Emerging from behind the vibrant formations were figures that seemed to shimmer with the same iridescence as the fish. As they drew closer, he realized they were mermaids. Graceful beings with flowing hair and tails that sparkled like the ocean itself. "Welcome, surface dwellers," one of the mermaids called, her voice melodic and inviting. She had long, cascading hair the color of seaweed and eyes that sparkled like the sun on the water. "We've been waiting for you." "Waiting for us," Mary-Kate echoed, her brow furrowing in confusion. "Why?" The mermaid smiled, revealing pearly teeth. "You have been chosen to explore the wonders of our realm. But beware, for not all is as it seems beneath the waves." Brad felt a shiver run down his spine, a mix of excitement and trepidation. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The mermaid's expression shifted, a flicker of something serious crossing her features. "There are forces at play in the ocean that seek to disrupt the balance. We need your help." "Help?" Ashley's voice was incredulous. "What can we do?" "Follow us," the mermaid beckoned, gliding effortlessly through the water. "We will show you." The group exchanged glances, a mix of curiosity and apprehension swirling among them. Brad felt a surge of determination. This was an adventure unlike any other, and he couldn't let fear hold him back. "Let's go," he said, his voice steady. As they followed the mermaids deeper into the underwater world, the scenery transformed into a breathtaking spectacle. Coral reefs stretched out like vibrant gardens, teeming with life. Fish of every hue darted in and out of the coral, while sea turtles glided gracefully above them. The water was warm and inviting, wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. "Look at that," Liv pointed to a group of dolphins leaping playfully in the distance. "They're amazing. Just wait until you see the seahorses," one of the mermaids chimed in, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "They're the guardians of our realm." As they swam, Brad couldn't help but steal glances at the mermaids. Their beauty was captivating, but it was their confidence and grace that truly mesmerized him. He felt a strange pull toward the mermaid who had first spoken to them, her presence both calming and exhilarating. "Do you come here often?" he asked, trying to sound casual, though his heart raced. The mermaid turned to him, a smile playing on her lips. We are always here, watching over the ocean. But few have ventured this far. Why us? He pressed, curiosity getting the better of him. Because you possess a spirit of adventure, she replied, her gaze piercing yet warm. And because you are not afraid to dive into the unknown. Brad felt a flush of pride at her words, but it was quickly overshadowed by the weight of their situation. What kind of forces are we talking about? He asked, his voice dropping to a serious tone. The mermaid's expression darkened. There are those who seek to exploit the ocean's resources, to drain its beauty for their own gain. We need your help to protect our home. The group fell silent, the gravity of the situation settling over them like a heavy cloak. Brad exchanged glances with his friends, each of them processing the enormity of what lay ahead. He could see the determination in Paige's eyes, the spark of adventure igniting in Liv, and even Ashley's competitive spirit flaring to life. Okay, Brad said, his voice steady. What do we need to do? The mermaid smiled, her expression brightening. Follow us to the heart of the ocean. There, you will find the source of our power, and together, we can protect it. As they swam deeper, the water around them began to glow with an otherworldly light. The coral formations shifted, revealing a path that led to a vast underwater cavern. The walls sparkled with bioluminescent algae, casting a soft glow that illuminated their way. Wow, Caitlin breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. This is incredible. The mermaids led them into the cavern, where the water opened up into a grand chamber. At its center lay a massive, pulsating orb of light, radiating warmth and energy. It was beautiful and mesmerizing, a heartbeat of the ocean itself. Chapter 8 A twist of fate. The vibrant colors of the underwater realm danced around Brad and his friends, illuminating their faces with a kaleidoscope of hues. Just moments ago, they had been splashing in the public pool, the sun warming their skin, laughter echoing in the air. But now, they were submerged in a world that felt both fantastical and surreal. The mermaids, with their shimmering tails and enchanting smiles, guided them through the coral gardens, their laughter mingling with the gentle sound of the ocean currents. As they swam deeper, the group's excitement was palpable. Mary-Kate, her eyes wide with wonder, pointed at a school of iridescent fish darting past. Look at that! She exclaimed, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. It's like a scene from a movie. Paige, still riding the adrenaline from her earlier heroics, grinned and swam ahead, her strokes powerful and confident. Come on, everyone, let's see what else is down here. Caitlin, ever the cautious one, hesitated. Wait, what if we get lost? We should stick together. Her voice was muffled by the water, but the concern in her eyes was clear. Relax, Caitlin, we're in an adventure. Ashley chimed in, her earlier jealousy forgotten in the face of this new thrill. She swam closer to Brad, her competitive spirit reignited. Let's race to that rock formation over there. Brad, still entranced by the beauty of the mermaids, barely registered Ashley's challenge. Sure, he replied absently, his gaze lingering on a particularly stunning mermaid with cascading hair that sparkled like sunlight on water. As they swam, the group stumbled upon a hidden alcove, the entrance framed by swaying seaweed. Inside, they found a treasure chest, its surface encrusted with barnacles and shimmering with a faint golden glow. The sight sent a thrill through the group, and they exchanged excited glances. Treasure! Liv squealed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. We have to open it. The mermaids, who had been swimming alongside them, suddenly grew serious. One of them, with deep blue scales and a crown of shells, swam closer. Be cautious, young ones. The treasure you seek is not without its dangers. What do you mean? Brad asked, finally tearing his gaze away from the mermaids to focus on the chest. The mermaid's expression was grave. This treasure is cursed. Those who take it may find themselves trapped in this realm forever. The warning hung in the water like a heavy fog, and the group exchanged uncertain glances. Brad, however, felt a rush of excitement. Cursed treasure. That sounds like something out of a story. He swam closer to the chest, curiosity piqued. Brad, wait, Paige called, but it was too late. He reached out and lifted the lid, the hinges creaking ominously. Inside, glimmering gold coins and sparkling jewels lay nestled among the sand, their allure irresistible. Look at this, Brad exclaimed, his voice echoing in the water. It's incredible. As he reached in to grab a handful of coins, a sudden rush of energy surged through the water. The chest glowed brighter, and the mermaids gasped, their eyes wide with fear. No, you must not take it. But it was too late. The moment Brad's fingers brushed the coins, a powerful current erupted from the chest, swirling around them like a tempest. The water darkened, and the vibrant colors of the underwater world began to fade, replaced by shadows that loomed ominously. Brad, Ashley shouted, panic rising in her voice. What did you do? I didn't mean to. He replied, struggling against the force of the current. The mermaids swam closer, their expressions a mix of concern and urgency. Swim. You must swim against the current, the blue-scaled mermaid urged, her voice cutting through the chaos. With adrenaline coursing through him, Brad turned and kicked his legs, trying to swim toward his friends. The water felt thick and heavy, as if it were trying to pull him back. He could see the others fighting against the current, their faces etched with fear. Stay together, Paige shouted, her voice strained. We can make it if we stick together. As they swam, the shadows began to take form, swirling around them like dark tendrils. Brad's heart raced as he glanced back at the treasure chest, now glowing ominously. It's curse unleashed. What do we do? He gasped, desperation creeping into his voice. Focus on the light. The mermaid called, pointing toward a faint glow in the distance. Swim toward it. With renewed determination, the group pushed forward, their bodies straining against the current. Brad could feel the weight of the curse pressing down on him, but he couldn't let it win. He glanced at Ashley, who was swimming beside him, her face a mask of determination. We can do this, she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Just keep swimming. As they drew closer to the light, the shadows began to recede, their grip loosening. The glow grew brighter, illuminating the water around them. Brad felt a surge of hope, and with one final push, they broke through the darkness, emerging into a serene, sunlit area of the ocean. Gasping for breath, they floated in the calm water, the chaos of the curse fading behind them. The mermaids surrounded them, their expressions a mix of relief and concern. You have escaped the curse, but it will not be so easy next time, the blue-scaled mermaid warned, her voice steady. The treasure is powerful, and it will call to you again. Brad nodded, still catching his breath. I didn't mean to. It doesn't matter, Paige interrupted, her voice firm. What matters is that we're safe. We need to stick together from now on. Ashley swam closer to Brad, her eyes searching his. You scared me back there, she admitted, her voice softer now. I thought we were going to be trapped forever. I didn't know, Brad replied, guilt washing over him. I just wanted to see what it was like. I didn't think it would. Next time, think before you act, Caitlin interjected, her tone sharp. We can't afford to take risks like that. The tension hung in the water, thick and palpable. Brad felt the weight of their words, the unspoken fears and frustrations swirling around them. He opened his mouth to respond, but the mermaids interrupted, their melodic voices breaking the silence. Come, let us show you the wonders of this realm, the blue-scaled mermaid said, her tone shifting to one of encouragement. There is beauty here, but you must respect it. As they swam deeper into the underwater world, Brad couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in his chest. The beauty around him was breathtaking. Chapter 9. The race against time. The shimmering surface of the water rippled with urgency as Brad and his friends found themselves submerged in an underwater world that was both enchanting and perilous. Just moments ago, they had been enjoying a carefree day at the public pool, but now they were trapped in a realm of vibrant colors and strange creatures, all thanks to a curse triggered by Brad's careless curiosity. The mermaids, with their iridescent tails and hauntingly beautiful voices, had warned them of the consequences, but the thrill of discovery had clouded their judgment. Now, the weight of their predicament pressed heavily upon them. As the group floated in the depths, the mermaids circled them, their expressions a mix of concern and expectation. To break the curse, you must solve our riddles, one of them, a striking figure with flowing aqua hair, declared. But beware, time is not on your side. The longer you linger, the more you risk being trapped here forever. Great, Ashley muttered, her voice laced with sarcasm. Just what we needed. More pressure. She crossed her arms, her frustration bubbling to the surface. The earlier camaraderie had begun to fray, and the tension between her and Paige was palpable. Can we focus, please? Paige shot back, her brow furrowed. We need to work together if we're going to get out of this mess. Liv, ever the peacemaker, interjected. Let's just take a deep breath. We can do this if we stay calm and listen to the mermaids. She glanced at the shimmering figures, hoping for a sign of guidance. Very wise, little one, the aqua-haired mermaid replied, her voice melodic yet firm. The first riddle is simple, but it requires unity. Listen closely. She gestured to a nearby coral formation that glowed with an otherworldly light. What has keys but can't open locks? The group exchanged puzzled glances, the weight of the riddle hanging in the water like a heavy anchor. Brad, still reeling from the beauty of the underwater world, felt a flicker of realization. A piano! He exclaimed, his voice echoing in the aquatic silence. Correct, the mermaid said, her eyes sparkling with approval. But there is more. You must find the hidden notes within the coral. Only then will the next challenge reveal itself. Great, let's split up, Paige suggested, her leadership instincts kicking in. Ashley, you and I will check the left side. Liv, you and Caitlin take the right. Why do I have to be with her? Ashley grumbled, shooting a glare at Paige. I can find the notes just fine on my own. Because we need to work together. Paige snapped back, her patience wearing thin. This isn't about you, Ashley. It's about all of us getting out of here. Enough, Liv interjected, her voice rising above the bubbling water. We don't have time to argue. Let's just do what we need to do. She turned to Brad, who had been watching the exchange with a mix of confusion and concern. Can you help me look for the notes? Brad nodded, finally shaking off his distraction. Yeah, let's do it. As they swam toward the coral, he felt a sense of urgency wash over him. The stakes were higher than he had realized, and he needed to step up. The coral was a labyrinth of colors, each twist and turn revealing new wonders. Brightly colored fish darted in and out of the formations, and the water shimmered with an ethereal glow. But as they searched, the tension between Ashley and Paige simmered just beneath the surface. Why do you always have to take charge? Ashley muttered, her voice barely above a whisper as they combed through the coral. It's like you think you're better than everyone else. Paige's eyes narrowed. I'm trying to save us, Ashley. This isn't a game. Maybe if you didn't act like you're the only one who knows what to do, we wouldn't be in this mess. Ashley shot back, her frustration boiling over. Guys, focus, Brad called, his voice cutting through the tension. We need to find these notes. He swam closer to the coral, his heart racing as he spotted a glimmering object nestled within the vibrant colors. Over here, Liv joined him, her eyes wide with excitement. What is it? she asked, peering closer. It looks like a note, Brad replied, carefully extracting the shimmering object from the coral. As he held it up, the water around them seemed to pulse with energy. Great job, Liv exclaimed, her enthusiasm infectious. Let's keep looking. As they continued their search, the atmosphere shifted. The mermaids watched intently, their expressions a mix of hope and apprehension. The group worked in silence, the only sounds the gentle swaying of the water and the distant calls of the sea creatures. After what felt like an eternity, they finally gathered a handful of shimmering notes. Brad's heart raced as they regrouped, the weight of the notes heavy in his hands. "We did it," he said, a sense of pride swelling within him. "Now what?" Ashley asked, her voice tinged with skepticism. "We just have to hope this leads us to the next challenge." The aqua-haired mermaid floated closer, her expression serious. "You have done well, but the next riddle will test your resolve. Listen carefully." She gestured to the notes in Brad's hands. "What can be broken but never held?" The group fell silent, the riddle hanging in the water like a thick fog. Brad's mind raced, but it was Liv who spoke first. "A promise," she said softly, her eyes shining with understanding. "Correct," the mermaid replied, her voice echoing with approval. "But to break the curse, you must each share a promise you've made. One that you fear you cannot keep." The weight of the challenge settled over them like a heavy shroud. Brad felt a knot form in his stomach. He had made promises. Some he had kept, others he had let slip away. The thought of confessing his fears in front of his friends was daunting. "I'll go first," Paige said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I promised my mom I would always be there for my little brother, but sometimes I feel like I'm failing him." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and the group fell silent, the gravity of her confession hanging in the water. "I promised my dad I would always try my best in school," Ashley added, her voice barely above a whisper. "But lately, I've been so caught up in everything else that I feel like I'm letting him down." Liv took a deep breath, her expression resolute. "I promised myself I would always stand up for my friends, but sometimes I feel like I'm too afraid to speak up." She glanced at Brad, her gaze searching for understanding. Brad's heart raced. Chapter 10 Return to reality. Emerging from the pool, Brad blinked against the sunlight, his heart racing not just from the thrill of their underwater escapade but from the realization of how much he had taken his friends for granted. The carefree attitude that had once defined him now felt like a mask slipping away, revealing a deeper appreciation for the bonds they had forged through shared trials. "Did we really just do that?" Mary-Kate exclaimed, shaking water from her hair as she climbed out of the pool. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and for a moment, she looked like a mermaid herself, glistening under the sun. "Yeah, we did," Paige chimed in, her laughter infectious. "I can't believe we actually broke the curse. I thought we were goners for sure." Ashley, still catching her breath, shot a glance at Paige, her expression a mix of relief and something else. Something that hinted at the jealousy that had simmered beneath the surface during their adventure. "Well, it was a team effort," she said, her voice slightly strained. "I mean, we all played a part, right?" "Right," Liv agreed, stepping up beside Ashley, her brow furrowed with concern. "But we need to talk about what happened back there. I mean, we can't just pretend it was all fun and games." Brad, still dripping wet, felt the weight of Liv's words settle over him. He had been so caught up in the thrill of the moment, in the beauty of the mermaids and the allure of adventure, that he hadn't fully grasped the dynamics at play within their group. "What do you mean?" he asked, his brow furrowing as he looked from Liv to Ashley. "Let's just say," Ashley began, her tone defensive, "that some of us were a little more focused on being the hero than actually working together." "Hey, I was just trying to help," Liv shot back, her voice rising. You were the one who jumped in without thinking. Enough. Brad interjected, his voice firm. We just escaped a curse together. Can't we celebrate that instead of tearing each other apart? The group fell silent, the tension hanging in the air like a thick fog. Brad's heart raced as he realized the truth in his own words. They had faced danger together, and yet here they were, allowing petty grievances to overshadow their victory. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. Look, I know we all have our issues, but we need to remember what we just accomplished. We're stronger together. Mary-Kate nodded, her expression softening. He's right. We should be celebrating. We just had the craziest adventure of our lives. Yeah, Paige added, her enthusiasm returning. Let's grab some snacks and hang out. We can talk about everything later. As they made their way to the poolside cafe, Brad felt a shift in the atmosphere. The earlier tension began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie that had been forged in the depths of their shared experience. He glanced at Ashley, who was walking slightly behind the group, her shoulders slumped. The flicker of jealousy in her eyes had not gone unnoticed, and he felt a pang of guilt for not recognizing it sooner. Hey, Ash, he called, slowing his pace to match hers. You okay? She looked up, surprise flickering across her face. Yeah, I'm fine, she replied, but the tightness in her voice betrayed her. Listen, I know you were trying to be a hero back there, he said, his tone gentle. And you were. You jumped in without thinking, and that's brave. But we all played a part in getting out of there. You don't have to prove anything to us. Ashley's expression softened, and for a moment, he thought he saw a glimmer of gratitude in her eyes. Thanks, Brad. I guess I don't know. I felt like I needed to stand out, you know. I get it, he replied, his heart racing as he realized how much he wanted to help her feel valued. But you don't need to compete with anyone. We're all in this together. As they reached the cafe, the scent of grilled burgers and fries wafted through the air, mingling with the salty tang of the pool. The rest of the group had already settled at a table, laughter bubbling up as they recounted their favorite moments from the underwater adventure. Did you see the look on that mermaid's face when we solved the riddle? Paige laughed, her eyes sparkling. I thought she was going to cry. Or when Brad accidentally triggered the curse. Liv added, her laughter infectious. I swear, I thought we were done for. Brad chuckled, but the laughter felt hollow as he watched Ashley sit quietly, her gaze fixed on her plate. He wanted to reach out, to draw her back into the warmth of their friendship, but the words felt stuck in his throat. Instead, he focused on the conversation, trying to keep the mood light. As they ate, the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the pool deck. The laughter and chatter continued, but Brad couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unresolved. He glanced at Ashley, who had grown increasingly quiet, her smile fading as the sun began to set. Hey, can we talk? He finally asked, leaning closer to her as the others continued their banter. About what? She replied, her tone guarded. About everything. I want to make sure you're okay, he said, his voice low. Ashley hesitated, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. I don't know, Brad. I just feel like I'm always in the background. Like I'm not good enough. That's not true, he insisted, his heart racing. You're amazing, Ash. You saved Liv, and you've always been there for all of us. You're not in the background. You're part of the team. Her gaze softened, and for a moment, he thought he saw the walls she had built around herself begin to crumble. Thanks, Brad. I guess I need to hear that sometimes. Anytime, he replied, feeling a warmth spread through him. We're friends, right? Friends lift each other up. Right, she said, a small smile breaking through. I guess I just need to remember that. As they finished their meal, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Chapter